Welcome to Nutmeg Chatter. The views expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the station or its sponsors.
Welcome to Nutmeg Chatter. I'm Phil Hall. On today's program, our guest is Martine Lacombe. She has a new book out called Intro to Food, College Edition. It's designed to help young people embrace their independence and master the kitchen with ease. Welcome to Nutmeg Chatter. I'm Phil Hall. Today we're going to be talking about food, specifically college students learning how to cook for themselves. Our guest is Martine Lacombe, who is the author of the new book, Intro to Food, College Edition. Martine, thank you for being on today's show.
Thanks for having me, Phil. Greatly appreciated.
Martine, what was the inspiration for you to create this book?
Well, my daughter started college 5 years ago, and I thought she was well equipped. I got the bedding, I got everything. I got the books and the laptop. I forgot to teach her how to feed herself. So those first few months, she kept calling me and texting me from the supermarket to say, "Mom, I don't know how to do this." And she was completely ill-equipped to just feed herself on a budget. And I was sharing those texts with my friends in the same situation and screenshotting those what I thought hilarious conversations with my daughter, who's otherwise very smart. And my friends told me, you need to put this in a book because we all need to have that basic information. We all need to send our college kids equipped to not how to order in or order out, but how to shop for food, how to preserve, how to cook, how pretty much to be healthy on a budget.
Yeah, that sort of fascinated me because my experience is somewhat different from your daughter's. And of course, I'm a lot older than your daughter. When I was in eighth grade, which was back in the late 1970s, we had cooking in our junior high school and uh, learned to make stuff like applesauce, mashed potatoes, chocolate chip cookies, nothing gourmet, but it was an introduction to getting around the kitchen, mixing ingredients, cleaning up after we cook, etc. And I was also raised in a single parent home. My mother worked, and I would get home from school before she got home from work. And I was taught how to start dinner preparation before she got home rather than have her come home and then start from scratch and have us wait to eat. So I'm wondering, do they teach cooking in today's schools?
Phil, thank you so much for asking. Home economics, this is what we called it a million years ago where I'm from. It was called home economics. How to hem a skirt, how to prepare a basic meal, how to clean dishes. You're absolutely right. It is not taught. It was not taught in my daughter's school. She's now 23. She actually, when she was in middle school, started a petition to bring back home economics to her school. And of course, she graduated before it could happen. And Phil, and I'm partly to blame for that because she's an only child. She's cuddled. A lot of things were done for her, and she's of the generation. She's the iPhone generation where everything is at your fingertip. The problem is there's too much information. So if you try to find out, you mentioned mashed potatoes, how to mash potatoes. Try Googling this, Phil. You're going to be taken through pages and pages of like, what is a potato? What is a potato from? Mr. Potato Head, and everything except the basics of like, I don't know how to do it. So in this world of an excessive amount of information, I wanted to create something that dilutes it to its absolute basis. How do you pick the right vegetable at the supermarket? And when you come home, where does it go? Does it go in the pantry? Does it go in the fridge? And but thank you so much. Home economics is what I wanted to replace when I created that book.
I'm actually surprised to know that home economics is not being taught. I don't have children, so I don't know what's going on in the schools, and that's
It's tragic.
yeah.
It's tragic. They can't write a check. They can't make a phone call. I mean, I need to create more books. I mean, a few years ago, I taught my daughter how to make a phone call to talk to a human being. She didn't know how to do that. And this is a smart college kid. She will be an engineer. And
Wow.
she,
One thing
yes.
I liked about the book too, and also it sort of bothered me in a way, but not for anything that you did, is teaching the kids how to navigate their way through the supermarket. Because also when I was a youngster, my mother was working. Um, I would get home from school sometimes, and there would be a shopping list of what I needed to go at the grocery store. Now we lived in the Bronx in New York City. And so the grocery store I used to go to was just a 2 block walk from where we lived. I mean, today I don't think 12-year-olds are allowed to walk by themselves in the street, but I walked down to the store, got what I needed, and came back. And I'm thinking now when I do my grocery shopping, I don't see parents and kids in the store together. I don't, in fact, I almost never see teenagers, come to think of it, or preteens in the store. I just see adults. So do parents not teach their kids how to go to a supermarket and how to buy groceries?
They don't, because it takes too much time, and we live in a world of high convenience. The groceries are being delivered to our door. We don't even select the product anymore. And I'm guilty of that because I live in Texas right now where the supermarkets are giant, and I do have an app that brings me specifically to the one item I want to purchase. So one could argue it's better because there's no impulse purchase, but I spending the time to wander the aisles to look for items that are not attractive, not at eye level, but at a high quality on the bottom of the shelf that you pay a portion of what you would pay for brand name. And that's what I advocate in the book also. Look around, look up and down, look on the outskirts. Don't just look where marketers are wanting you to look and wanting you to purchase. And avoid convenience. Convenience is very expensive, and try to use more of the raw materials and raw vegetables. And it's almost cathartic, right? To peel a carrot or to start dicing vegetables. It's a great exercise. You're close to your food source, but it is a mind shift to say that this is not a waste of time. This is time well spent. But you're absolutely right, Phil. At the supermarket, I see the same thing here. People have their food either delivered to the house, or they will do something called curbside, where you wait in the car. You don't even go into the store, and the groceries are being brought to your trunk. So I'm trying to change that a little bit. And for me, when you become a college student, you may not have the funds your parents have. You don't want to pay for convenience. For maybe for the first time ever, you are on a budget. This is when you need to hold on to that $20, walk to the supermarket, and look how much this $20 can feed you. And you would be surprised that you can get a lot of items for $20 if you don't jump to the convenience and if you look up, down, and sideways.
Of course, we're dealing with an economy where the price of everything is inflated, certainly food. What advice can you give to college students on a budget to try to get the biggest bang for their buck? Should they strictly look at the supermarkets, or should they also go to big box stores like Target or Walmart, or even to some dollar stores which do have grocery sections in them?
Absolutely. Be resourceful. And this is exactly the purpose of the book. Be resourceful. What do you have in your neighborhood? Look around. Just don't look at advertisement. Don't get swayed by shiny ads. If you have a dollar store, if you have access to a big box, not everybody has access to those. Be mindful of what you have and have a purpose. As you start your week, think, hey, I have classes during those days and those hours. Maybe there is a restaurant close to a class that has a great special on the day that you'll be nearby. So the goal is not to live like a miser, but the goal is to say, hey, I have limited funds, I have limited time. How am I going to maximize this? It goes as far as maybe there's a restaurant to bring back some food. There's no shame in doggy bagging. Maybe there's a restaurant you don't prefer because the portions are huge and it forces you to eat more than you would like to. What I recommend is as you order your food, as they bring the food, right away ask for to-go box and right away portion the food for maybe the next day or the day after. I like the flexibility because not everybody has access to the same resources. If you have a farmer's market, please take advantage of that. If you're able to build a garden and this is something that you enjoy, it's really the purpose of the book is really to expand your mind and your horizon, to say your time is limited, your resources are limited. Look around and take notes. Start a price. You should know how much the items you use frequently, how much is a gallon of milk, how much is a carton of eggs, so that when those items go on special, you will be aware of that. So it's all about taking full advantage of the resources you have. And I also recommend, if you want to, with some friends, maybe cook in batches. And instead of eating the same thing for 5 days in a row, 5 friends could cook each a batch, and then you share amongst yourselves, freezing portions. And it's really about community, about resourcefulness, and about turning what could be a chore into something very pleasant, in my opinion.
If you're just joining our broadcast, Martine Lacombe is our guest. She is the author of Intro to Food, College Edition. Martine, one interesting thing about your book is that you're emphasizing cooking as opposed to buying prepackaged or frozen foods and just sticking it in the microwave. Why is that more important to create something from scratch as opposed to just set the microwave for 5 minutes?
Oh, there's balance into everything. And Phil, I had frozen pizza for dinner last night. There's balance to everything. But typically, food that is prepackaged, you don't control the ingredients. A lot more college students have dietary restrictions than when I was in college. We have athletes, we have people that may have health issues, and they want to know what they consume. In my book, what I recommend is striking a balance of 80-20. There's the day that you're going to be completely harried. You won't have time to cook. You need to go to the drive-through and get something that's unhealthy. That's fine if you do it about 20% of the time. It's not a hard, fast rules. It's really like for anything else. Try to cook for yourself 80% of the time, saving money 80% of the time. So when there is a splurge moment, or you want to go out to dinner, or you're cramming for a test, you're like, I cannot cook right now. The only thing I can do is order a meal in. You're going to have that extra money, that extra bandwidth in your health budget also to maybe splurge onto something. Controlling what you eat, the ingredients and the budget is why I recommend to know how you can cook for yourself so that when you do have the time, you can do it. My goal is not to shame anybody. And it's not, again, if you can make a garden, more power to you. If you live in the city and there's no room, that's okay. Do something else. You can go to a farmer's market. If you don't have those, you have a big box, that's what you can do. So the books is really not hard, fast rules to say you need to do this, or there's no good and there's no bad. The goal really is to strike a balance where you know where your food comes from, you know what you're putting in your body, and there's always a little room in there, a little wiggle room for a treat, something maybe less healthy or something that's a bit more expensive. Does that make sense, Phil?
It makes perfect sense to me. Uh, my favorite chapter in your book is chapter 3, the 10 tools to launch your culinary adventure, because a lot of cookbooks are so focused on the ingredients that we forget about the tools that you need to process them. Do you want to just share a little bit about that chapter with us?
Absolutely, Phil. And one of my favorite tool in the 10, and those tools, by the way, are listed on the website. The goal is not to gatekeep information, so anybody could access introtofood.com and see the list of tools. My favorite is a salad spinner. And that seems a little bougie, like who has time for salad? Because the reason I love it so much, it is such a versatile tool because you have a big bowl that you can use to wash vegetables or to soak something. You typically have a colander that comes in there that can use not only to maybe drain fruits and vegetables, but maybe also to drain pasta. And there's something I like that maybe not popular for everyone. But I know of one college student who had to wear a shirt real quick one day and did not want to spend the money at the laundromat. And she just used the salad spinner because this is what's missing when you're doing the home laundry. She washed everything in the bowl, then put the wet shirt in the spinner, spinned it pretty dry, hung it for 20 minutes, and was able to go about her day. So something that might seem a bit excessive is going to have a lot of use. I talk about safety a whole lot. One of the top 10 is going to be a fire safety item. If you don't want to use a fire extinguisher, they sell what they have now, fire blankets. If you know how to stretch a blanket, you could, extinguish a fire. Dull knives are super dangerous, and good knives are not expensive. You can always go the high-end brand, but most supermarket in that little section there will have good knives. So the goal always is, if you go to the supermarket and, for example, carrots, right? You can have pre-cut carrots that cost 3 to 4 times the price of a regular bag of carrots and won't last nearly as long. So instead of just mindlessly play game on your phone, and I understand sometimes we knew that to change our mind, why don't you start peeling and chopping carrots? It has the same effect. It's a mindless activity, but you have something to show for at the end.
I have several recipes in here in the book for just taking a quick look. Baked chicken breast, which is very tasty. Baked potato.
Yes.
Um, you also have tuna salad. How did you determine which recipes you were going to put in, and what were some of the recipes that didn't make the final cut?
Yes. So the recipes, thank you so much. The recipes that made it are a family favorite that we still eat these days. And the criteria was it needs to be inexpensive, easily accessible, be that at a big store, a dollar store, or a supermarket or farmer's market. And it had to have some versatility. And one of my favorite chapters is when I talked about the very basic baked potato that can be transformed into 20 different meals, because you can have a baked potato, or maybe you have a leftover bolognese sauce, which is also in the book. You mix those two, you have a different meal. You can have an egg with a baked potato. So, and I'm also recommending in the book a basic grocery list. If you have nothing in your place and you need to buy some basic food, what can you purchase that's going to feed you for the next 4 or 5 days? And baked potatoes will do that to you. It's a fantastic food. It is very inexpensive. And making the cut also for me was something that anybody could like. We're not starting with gastronomy right now. We're starting like, hey, I want to feed myself and I want to see what I like. Um, in my basic shopping list, one of the items is your favorite condiment. And I don't say what condiment this is, because your favorite condiment could be ketchup, mustard, hot sauce. It doesn't matter. You know what you like. And when you start cooking, if the results are not exactly up to what you would prefer, you can fix a lot of mistakes with the proper condiment. And I have seen my daughter eating a baked potato with ketchup. Is that the highest in the nutrition and gastronomy? No. But if that's all you have, and all you have is 20 minutes, a baked potato, your favorite condiment, you can feed yourself. So all the recipes are really designed to say, hey, what can we mix and match so that we have some basic prepared food, but as we mix and match them, we can create over 50 different meals. And it's all about enjoying the process, and not about being punished for maybe not having the means or the time. And you can create something delicious with an egg and a potato and your favorite condiment. Trust me, sometimes this is what becomes comfort food. And maybe if you have more funds and more time, sometimes, and I do that all the time, I will revert to my comfort food because that's what I like to eat. And as the name says, it is comforting sometimes to just have a simple baked potato with an egg and some ketchup.
Our guest was Martine Lacombe, who is the author of Intro to Food, the college edition. Uh, Martine, the book doesn't have any recommendations of where college students might go to get ideas for recipes. Um, what would you recommend to the college students who start to make their own foods and decide, oh, this is fun. I want to do something a little bit more than a baked potato and ketchup. Are there particular recipe sources that you would recommend for young people?
I would, Google is your friend, and there's so much information. And now we have the other tools called Chat GPT and any type of AI, which is so powerful. And the more information you give to the tool, the more it's going to return, which you get empowered where you can ask a tool, I know how to bake a potato. I have ketchup. I also have a slice of salami and a wilted carrot. Give me meal ideas under 15 minutes. So all those tools are fantastic once you have the basic. And thank you for mentioning that, Phil, because the book is not designed for people to only eat baked potatoes for the rest of your life. But once you have a baseline of skills to say, I'm able to cook some protein, I know how to make an egg and I know how to make chicken. I know how to open a can. I know how to steam vegetables. All those skills combined, you can put that in a tool, in a computer tool, in a artificial intelligence or Google tool, and have the machines think for you and come up. And that would be a very great exercise to do, actually. And I would encourage any of your listeners to do something like that. Open the fridge and the pantry, pick 2 or 3 random ingredients, add the skills that you have, and ask a tool what they recommend as meals. I think that would be fantastic. And I think it is much more versatile than looking for a recipe. For example, I want to have a chicken with lemon sauce, and I don't want to read about where the chicken is from and the history of the person, or maybe they're going to ask for an ingredient I'm not familiar with, which is caper. So limiting your meals with the tools that you have, that you don't feel cheated, like, well, I don't have a sous vide machine so I cannot do this. Limiting to what the tools you have, the skills you have, and the ingredients you have. You could even save a prompt, a dinner prompt. These are the tools I have in my kitchen, which is not going to change. These are the skills I have. You can always add on to it, and you add 3, 4, 5 ingredients and ask a tool to return a recipe. Phil, I'm trying that tonight. I am going to try that just to see how that works. And I'm sure it's going to open a world of accessible solutions. And the goal always, because, and I'm sure it's happened to you, Phil, as well. You're looking for recipe online, it's overly complicated, or it's in grams and not in pounds, or you don't understand, or there's no picture. So using the tools that we have, the computer tools that we have, the way they were intended, I think is going to be fantastic. And the generation we're talking to, the college kids, we don't have to tell them how to do that. They probably are the ones who could tell us how to better use the tools once they have the baseline knowledge and the baseline tools that they need.
It's so fascinating to hear this from my experience because when I was a college student and also when I was making meals for my working mother when I was in high school and junior high school. This is before we had the computers, and of course, Wednesdays in the newspaper, we would get the New York Times. That was the food section, so they would have all sorts of recipes and ideas there. But that's times have changed, and maybe they've changed a bit for the better because now you have instant access to everything as opposed to having to wait for a newspaper to come out once a week. Uh, Martine, what has the reaction been to the new book?
It's been very positive, and it's been a bit shocking from the parent side to realize that we haven't taught our kids those basic survival skills, because most people my age did not had access to home economics. And I think maybe it's the generation that we want to provide so much for our kids that maybe we cheated them a little bit by not letting them fend for themselves as much as we should have. The convenience has a price, and this is something we've realized, sending people in the world with phenomenal, with computers in the palm of their hands. They don't need The resources we had, they never had to read a map. They never had to call a line to figure out a bus route. But we failed to equip them with basic skills to say, forget the phone. You need to look around you because you're not in a situation, a survival situation, where you need to use the resources which are currently accessible to you. And we've turned into a society that is so rich in information. Like you said yourself, we have access to information. I am still reading the New York Times every day online, though. That's the only thing I've changed. But access to information and access to execution is two worlds apart. And this is where I think the response has been so positive is listen, enough with the information. We're going to bring it down to execution. Something needs to happen. And there's no app in the world yet that's going to be able to fill a pot with water, start boiling the water, and watching over the water.
Martine, we're coming to the end of today's program, but if our listeners wanted to continue the conversation with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Introtofood.com, the information in there. They can email us, they can call us. We have resources are all listed on the website. Again, the goal is to give access to information. I know the book has been well received as a gift for parents to kids, but if somebody, for whatever reason, don't want to purchase the books, all the list of key ingredients and what we recommend, everything is listed on the website. The website is designed as the clearinghouse for all information for students of every age, lifelong learners as well, who decide they want to learn how to cook and they want to get back to the basics.
Our guest has been Martine Lacombe, who is the author of the new book, Intro to Food, College Edition. Martine, thank you for joining us on this edition of Nutmeg Chatter.
Thank you so much, Phil, for having me. Have a great day.
And folks, if you want to listen to this interview again, or if you missed part of it and wanted to get the complete episode, go over to nutmegchatter.com. This episode is archived in its entirety, not just this episode, but the 350 or so that came before it, going all the way back to the beginning when J. Timothy Quirk was the original host of the show. He's still with us, but he is off microphone as our producer. I will be back next week here on the station at the same time. And to be honest, I have no idea who the guest is going to be. I haven't booked that far in advance yet. But hey, you never know who's going to be on Nutmeg Chatter. Last year we had quite an interesting lineup, including Lee Greenwood. We had Carl Higbee from Newsmax was on the show, and we had Joe Concha, who's over at Fox. A whole lot of interesting people discussing great many subjects. Like I said, tune in next time. You never know who's going to turn up. Until then, have yourselves the most wonderful of experiences.